If you're a woman transitioning through menopause and you're experiencing specific symptoms like fatigue, weight gain or fat accumulation, insomnia, brain fog or moodiness, even hormone-related issues, despite your best effort to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work but aren't getting any better, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. I'd like to show you how to eliminate menopause symptoms naturally without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack, so that you can make menopause what it should be, a welcome new phase in your life as a mature, powerful, influential leader that just happens to be a woman. Even if you struggled with some of these issues long before you began transitioning through menopause, because you have a high-stress job, have endless demands in your personal life, aren't consistent with the habits you know are good for you, or even have some crazy disease diagnosis, stick around to discover which toxins may have escalated to a toxic level and how you can address them without medication. My name is Dr. Gala Gorman, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and the author of What's Your Kryptonite? Manage the toxic stressors threatening your superwoman status. The number one thing I want you to take away from this video is that the only way to deal with menopause symptoms is to deal with chronic stress that is escalated to toxic stress. This is not what I refer to as garden variety stress, which is how we commonly think of mental and emotional stress. This is stress that is caused by a combination of factors that I've grouped into 12 categories of toxicity. If you continue trying to manage your symptoms without resolving the underlying or root cause, it's like playing whack-a-mole with your health. It's not a game you can win. And the first thing you need to know about manage your chronic stress is that this is what's required to make the journey through and in menopause easy, with vibrant health and without medication that's often prescribed as a life sentence. Research has shown that 90% of disease is related to stress. My experience is that the number is actually higher because the studies don't include all forms of stress. And it's generally understood in the medical community that stress can exacerbate menopause symptoms. Stress can impact hormone systems and intensify symptoms like hot flashes, mood swings, sleep disturbance, and the list goes on. In fact, the Health and Employment After 50 group found that around 1/3 of women reported moderate to severe difficulties coping at work due to menopause symptoms. But dealing with stress provides the antidote. The results of another study suggest that reduced stress can potentially alleviate the frequency and severity of symptoms commonly experienced during menopause. Reducing stress is how you transition through menopause without the nasty side effects. Unlike what often happens when women resort to using hormone replacement therapy that makes managing menopause symptoms a roller coaster ride that never ends, leaving even more health issues that must be resolved in its wake. Traditional medicine produces traditional results, and we've been conditioned from an early age to accept that this is just the way it is. The truth is, you have to address chronic stress. The alternatives are not appealing. The typical approach to dealing with menopause will have you suffering with your symptoms or suffering as a result of the treatment. There is a better way, but you have to deal with the chronic stress in order to make this work. Now, I teach this in my program. It's called the MOLT method, but let me give you the basics, because this seems to be one of the biggest takeaways for menopausal women inside the program. For example, I regularly get messages that go something like this. My husband actually commented yesterday that I'm not as irritable and I have a spring in my step again. What's the next step? And by the way, I'm down 15 pounds since starting to work with you a few months ago. Symptoms are often severe enough that it strains relationships. When I first started seeing signs of menopause myself, I ran into many of these symptoms as well. I even tried hormone replacement therapy for a couple of years, despite the associated risks for anyone that has a genetic predisposition for developing cancer, which I do. HRT was sold as the natural solution to deal with menopause and other age-related issues for women. During this couple of years, I tried all the things that are typically recommended. Monitoring cortisol and other hormone levels with expensive saliva tests, comprehensive functional medicine blood tests every 6 months, hormone replacement therapy, including pellets, and a bucket full of supplements. Unfortunately, the results were frustrating. Nothing worked, and the test results proved it. And not only did the treatment not work, it caused even more problems because I still had adrenal fatigue. It was a relief when I finally made the decision to just say no to HRT after I met a woman who had cruised through menopause without the crazy symptoms. I knew there must be something we're missing. My research showed that the adrenals are designed to pick up some slack during menopause to ease the transition. When the adrenals are already on fumes, they have nothing to donate. That's when I realized that I had to deal with the root cause of my adrenal fatigue, the chronic stress causing all of these crazy symptoms to begin with. As a result, in my early 60s, I spent a month hiking across Spain. I weigh less than I did when I was in my 30s, and I feel creative and mentally sharp. I'm committed to helping other women have a similar experience with aging and menopause too. At this point, you may be thinking that your symptoms aren't really related to chronic stress. You may have gone to your doctor and, just like me, were told that you could deal with the symptoms easily with HRT. If your doctor says that's what you need to do, you do it. You trust their opinion. Of course you do. They're your doctor. You may even have a long-term relationship with them. But imagine going to your hairstylist and letting them make the decision about your new hairstyle without any input from you. You're the one who has to figure out how to work with it to style it every day. Similarly, you're the one that has to deal with the side effects of HRT every day for the rest of your life. There's no end game with HRT. At least a wonky hairstyle is temporary. The better way is to identify toxic stressors and deal with them. That way you have energy to spare, sleep soundly, think clearly, and generally feel like your old self, only better. You may be thinking that you have no idea where to start. You've already tried all the things to deal with your symptoms, and chronic stress that's become toxic is even more of a head scratcher. If you came into my office, I'd ask you a lot of questions that would help us connect the dots so that together we can deal with your toxic stress. Every situation is unique, and you need a plan that works for you, not a one-size-fits-all solution. Thinking you can't come into my office? Well, don't worry. I've put all of my initial questions together in a quiz. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But most people won't even begin to look at the chronic stress in their lives because they don't know what they're looking for. They may not even think of themselves as stressed or anxious and would never imagine that just one of the toxic stressors could be the cause of their symptoms. Maybe you're like this too. Dr. Gala, I'm managing my stress pretty well. My stress doesn't feel toxic. So if you're thinking managing chronic stress just isn't the answer for you, I want to show you what you may be missing and how you can identify the toxic stressors that are creating your symptoms with my free quiz. If you feel like you turned 40 and the wheels started falling off with unwanted symptoms showing up like fatigue, weight gain, insomnia, brain fog, and other seemingly new or exaggerated symptoms, even though you didn't do anything different, and nothing you've tried, including super restrictive diets, intense exercise, expensive supplements, even medication, has created significant improvements, I want to show you how you can live a symptom-free life and healthy lifestyle without the crazy diets, hours in the gym, or a life sentence of medication or supplementation. Now, obviously, I can't promise or predict that after taking my quiz, you'll find immediate relief from your symptoms and have all the answers. But I do know that if you're dragging, you've gained weight or accumulated fat, you're never sure if you're going to get a good night's sleep, and your mood swings like a pendulum, then you definitely aren't going to magically resolve the issues related to toxic stress that are making menopause unbearable by ignoring it or approaching it like an ostrich, by sticking your head in the sand. So this quiz is like you walking into my office or getting on a Zoom call, and with the answers to my questions, we identify your toxic stressors on the spot so that you know exactly what to tweak in your life to start relieving those symptoms. It rarely requires a complete overhaul. It's typically just a few adjustments and the tides start to turn. Then it's going to feel so good because these small adjustments will lead to more energy, better sleep, and clear thinking. You can find the quiz through the link in the description of this video. I'm looking forward to helping you navigate the journey through menopause and welcome this new phase in your life.